Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And let's just jump right into the Trump speech. Now, the Trump speech, it was a bit of a head fake for a lot of us because he had made some statements last week and this week about some big issues. Venezuela, land strikes, acts of war, blockade, seizing oil tankers, blowing up drug boats. A lot of people were expecting him to come out and say that there's been some sort of military action taken against Venezuela. And that's what you see a lot of times when the president tells the networks to clear the decks. We got something big going on here. Was that what he addressed last night? Not at all. He had also been floating some trial balloons over the last 2 weeks about decriminalizing weed. Was that part of his speech at all? No. So what was the main topic of his speech? There wasn't one. So a lot of us were suspecting, or as soon as it was over, you may have heard some special coverage last night from WBAP where myself and Chris Putnam from Dallas Express were breaking it down, and it looked like he just wanted to break through the media firewall and give the audience of ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, and CNN his take on the big issues of the day in a way that they will never hear on that platform otherwise. So some of it was a little bit of bragging, but, bragging because he's trying to break through the bubble. And some of it was new stuff. Let's first play the intro, and then we'll get into the new stuff, because I think that's the most important thing.
Good evening, America. 11 months ago, I inherited a mess, and I'm fixing it. When I took office, inflation was the worst in 48 years, and some would say in the history of our country, which caused prices to be higher than ever before, making life unaffordable for millions and millions of Americans.
Okay, so he continued to sort of gripe and set the stage for about 3 minutes of how bad things were and how bad the previous guy was. And he's setting the storyline, the narrative out for we were in this hole and this is how he's been digging us out. And so then he goes through line by line, a bunch of statistics, a bunch of examples. Some of it could be dismissed as anecdotal or hyperbole, but it was all really positive. No, there wasn't anything snarky in there. There wasn't any insults in there. There wasn't a whole lot of subjective stuff in there. So I thought that was, I don't want to say not Trump-like, but the more disciplined side of Trump. As far as the new stuff goes, I had no idea there was this talk about a military bonus coming in.
Because of tariffs, along with the just passed One Big Beautiful Bill, tonight I am also proud to announce that more than 1,450,000, think of this, 1,450,000 military service members will receive a special, we call Warrior Dividend before Christmas, a Warrior Dividend. In honor of our nation's founding in 1776, we are sending every soldier $1,776.
All right, if you want to do the quick math, let's see. 1.45 million soldiers receiving $1,776. That is right about $2.6 billion. Okay. That is just a small piece of what we've collected in tariff revenue. I prefer that all to go to pay down the debt, but if you're going to spend it on something else before you spend it on debt, this is probably the most noble of causes. So that was new. Also, TrumpRx.com, which I got fussed by some guy who was like, he's talked about that before. You're just not paying attention. Well, I just missed it because I didn't know TrumpRx.gov, I should say, was on the horizon.
The first of these unprecedented price reductions will be available starting in January through a new website, TrumpRx.gov. And these big price cuts will greatly reduce the cost of health care. I'm also taking on the...
All right, so TrumpRx.gov is supposed to start next month. I went and looked at it last night. They've got the beginnings of a site there, but you can't go click through and actually find your drugs just yet. So there was a little bit of new information in there. But when you try and nail down, if someone's put a gun to your head and say, what was last night's speech about? I'm like, I don't know. Because he talked about immigration. He talked about education. He talked about inflation and wages and the economy, the military Christmas bonuses, the cost of drugs, the energy policy, mortgage costs, the border, reverse migration, Somalians, Minnesota. He covered a lot. It's strangely in that whole shotgun scattershot of topics. He didn't talk about the two things that I was expecting. I did a horrible job predicting what was going to be in this speech yesterday on the James Show. I'm glad we're having issues with the podcast, and I didn't get to put that up, and it's on the record of how wrong I was. But then today, he's already made himself available to the press on a couple of occasions addressing, guess what? Venezuela and weed. So these were two topics that he was about to make big moves on. But 12 hours ago, when he was giving a big speech to the nation, he didn't even mention it. This is all some interesting strategy he's got going on. So coming up, I'm going to get you caught up on what he did say about Venezuela and the rescheduling of marijuana. If you have any takeaways from the speech, 800-288-9227, you will hear some of the reaction from people who both agree with Donald Trump and quite a few who disagree with Donald Trump, including later in the show, you're going to get an episode of What the Heck Did Jasmine Crockett Say This Time? But I want to turn our attention to our friends over the Denton State Living Center, where Derek, we have 2 days left here in the fundraiser. Thank you, Derek. This is the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, James Parker here for Rhino Shield. And if you are looking at your house, every time you pull into the driveway, you see the paint. I'm not saying you're OCD, but it's hard to not notice. It looks terrible. You know how bad that makes your house look when there's cracking, when there's flaking, when there's peeling? It goes from looking like a new awesome home, like you're from Gone with the Wind, to a haunted house. Well, if you want to get it done and never have to worry about it again, that's where Rhino Shield steps in. You can go ahead and slap some paint back on it, but it'll go back looking like Amityville Horror in about a decade. If you do Rhino Shield, you don't even have to think about it again. And on top of that, not only will it look good, not only will it last, but it lowers your energy costs. It has an insulating factor. It blocks UV rays. It's water resistant. And it's technology that expands with the house in the summertime and contracts with the house when things get cold. And that's why you can come back and in 25 years, you're not going to have cracking, flaking, or peeling. And look, not only will your house look good, it'll help the resale value because you can tell them, hey, we got Rhino Shield on here. You get all kinds of savings on your the heating and cooling of your house. And if you need a little bit of help with the price, just mention you heard it on the James Show. You'll get 20% off through the holidays. And that's just a clever way of saying for about the next 2 weeks. So get on it. Mention the James Show, get the discount. And if you need to, put it on a monthly note and make it as affordable as possible. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Well, Merry Christmas, fellow Texans. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. We're reviewing Trump's big address last night and then a couple of other issues that he brought up this morning. And first, let's get the reaction from someone who makes a frequent appearance on the James Show, Jasmine Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett, queen of the liberal tea.
Bleach blonde, bad built butch body, Governor Hot Wheels, and he is a hot ass mess, honey.
Queen of the liberal tea.
And the American people are done with the con man. I mean, as he stood up today in front of the American people, he sounded like a used car salesman. Like, let me just shout it out. Buy what I'm selling. Yes, this is a lemon. Yes, he is selling nothing but lemons. Right now, I don't think that this really should come down to right or left, as I've been saying over and over. This is about right and wrong.
Yeah, it's con man. It was just a whole bunch of lies. Okay, that seems kind of vague and kind of what we expected you to say. What does someone who agrees with Donald Trump say? Let's ask Raven Harrison coming back on the show. Welcome back, Raven. Your response to Trump's speech last night. Well, I got to admit, I was kind of duped as well. I was expecting an announcement of some, I don't know, act of war against Venezuela. We've been bombing their boats. We seized the oil tanker. We've done a blockade. He's hinted on more than one occasion now about land strikes. He didn't even mention it last night. Okay, so we're talking with Raven Harrison about Trump's address to the nation. Let's talk about the things he actually did bring up. The one way this makes sense is he was just trying to get in front of ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, or M Snow, whatever they're calling themselves now, and say things to them that they wouldn't hear otherwise. So a lot of this just seemed like almost like a campaign rally or bragging. But there were two new things in there. Number one, your reaction to the Christmas bonus for the troops, and your reaction to TrumpRx.gov. So, what do you think about Trump blockading Venezuela and talking about land strikes within Venezuela? And one more question for Raven Harrison. Trump just signed an executive order right before the show started, rescheduling marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 for whatever that means. Your thoughts? Well, I'm still on Dexatrim from the 90s, so I just thank you very much, Raven Harrison. How's the campaign going? All right. Well, give me updated on that when it gets close to primary season. I want to hear how you do. And you're welcome because you hadn't heard a good Dexatrim punchline all week. So coming up on the James Show, you just heard what Raven Harrison thought about those big issues that were brought up in the speech, Venezuela, marijuana rescheduling. You'll hear some more sound bites and what I think coming up next. I'd like to hear what you think as well. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. Merry Christmas from News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, so I played you some of the audio from Trump's speech last night. Headlines have already overshadowed that from a couple of issues he was dealing with this morning. Number one, the blockade of Venezuela. I'm going to give you a couple of clips from PBS NewsHour, just so you know I'm not playing softball over here. And listen to how they describe this.
President Trump today continued his rhetorical campaign against Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro as a large American naval force sits in the waters off the coast. Mr. Trump sent a social media broadside last night against Maduro, which he reiterated today. The U.S., he says, will actively blockade and seize vessels it had already sanctioned, a move some critics have called an act of war.
Now, I find this interesting because this is an act of war. Blockading a country is most certainly an act of war. But if this is predicated on some sanctions that were put on Maduro that aren't being enforced, then this is not anything new that Trump's doing. He's just enforcing the rules that we've all kind of been agreeing to this whole time, which makes this not even anything new. It's just a continuation of the previous policy. I don't think this is that. And not the fact that it's the continuation of the previous policy and it's just being enforced. I don't think the previous guy wanted Maduro to be overthrown. I don't think the guy before Donald Trump's first term wanted Nicolas Maduro to be overthrown. Of course, he was just barely in power then, because that was about the time Hugo Chavez died. But that's what this is about. When this first started happening and the drug boats were being blown up, you turned on the James Show, if you're a regular listener, and you heard me say this is not about drugs. I think I've been proven correct. I got the prediction wrong on what he was going to talk about in the speech last night, but that one I nailed. And it was obvious. Look, some of the reasons why we came to that conclusion after the first drug boat was blown up was that if you're going to be blowing up drug boats in order to fight drugs, you might start with Colombia. You might go second to Mexico. Venezuela may be in your top 5, but that lets you know that's not what this is about. Maduro has turned Venezuela into a narco state. Apparently, my next prediction is we're going to find out a little more specifics on the breadcrumbs Trump has been dropping about exporting train to Aragua and emptying their prisons and sending them here and setting up the drug network and taking advantage of it like that. I'm sure we'll get to that in-depth level of knowledge way far in the future. But in the meantime, he doesn't have time to read us all a book and give us the chronicles of what's going on here. Look for land strikes in Venezuela coming very soon. Here's the another part of that PBS report I think you'd be interested in.
Last night on Truth Social, President Trump promised to, quote, total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going into and out of Venezuela.
Just a blockade. Not going to let anybody going through that shouldn't be going through.
Already last week, the Coast Guard and military boarded and seized a tanker. There are more than 30 such tankers off the Venezuelan coast, a ghost fleet of ships that Venezuela has used to evade oil sanctions.
So if they've been getting around the sanctions and he can stop that, and if they've been doing narco runs for cash and he can stop that, Maduro's going to fall, and we probably don't even have to put one boot on the ground, or I guess 2 boots on the ground. We're not sending over a one-legged person, but you know what I mean. The other big news he was making today is right before the James Show started. He rescheduled marijuana from 1 to 3.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that I will be signing an executive order to reschedule marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 controlled substance with legitimate medical uses. We have people begging for me to do this, people that are in great pain. For decades, this action has been requested by American patients suffering from extreme pain, incurable diseases, aggressive cancers, seizure disorders, neurological problems, and more, including numerous veterans with service-related injuries and older Americans who live with chronic medical problems that severely degrade their quality of life.
Now, not only do I agree with that, I wholeheartedly 100% agree with that. My only question is, what took you so long? Why now? And I have that complaint for both parties. Again, a pox on both your houses. You know, the Democrats are usually seen as more lenient when it comes to vice crimes, when it comes to drug laws and whatnot. And the Republicans are usually seen as a little more hard-fisted when it came to this. But Joe Biden never rescheduled it from a class 1 to a class 3. Trump didn't do it in his first term. Why not? If it's this obvious, if it's causing this much harm, if it's doing some people this much good, why did you wait until now? Why didn't you do it in your first term? Obama, why didn't you do it? George W. Bush, why didn't you do it? Bill Clinton, why didn't you do it? Why now? What has taken them so long? Because the American public, I think, agrees with this overwhelmingly in almost every survey that you look at. And the problem is, I don't have an answer for that. He promises this is not weed legalization.
I want to emphasize that the order I am about to sign is not the legalization, or it doesn't legalize marijuana in any way, shape, or form, and in no way sanctions its use as a recreational drug.
All right, so what this is going to do is open it up and let it be easier for people to do research concerning it. They'll be able to get bank accounts if they have a weed-based business, and all kinds of, just little sundry perks that come with decriminalization. But again, my question is, how are we limiting research into anything at any time when it comes to a substance like this? Why weren't we doing this yesterday or last year or under every president since you've been alive? I don't know. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, TCU students have been getting a bunch of woke test questions on their finals. Carlos Tosillos of the Dallas Express has busted them, and you'll hear it next. But let's turn our attention to our friend again from the Denton State Living Center. Hey, Derek, so we've got all the gifts bought. Now we're into the donations for the events that happen throughout the calendar year. All right, thank you, Derek. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. How woke are the finals that your kids are taking? It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. My next guest has some interesting insight into that. Carlos Turcios, he's a regular on the James Show. I follow him on Twitter /X or whatever the cool kids are calling it. And it seems like you were getting sent some samples of what kids were facing on their finals. And I think the people listening to the James Show would like to hear about this. All right. So give me some examples. What's some of the questions we're seeing on finals test at TCU? So I thought this was illegal under new Texas state laws. All right. You mind if we get you for another segment, Carlos? I know we only scheduled one, but there's a lot of good stuff on your X account I'm going to ask you about. Carlos Tercios. He is the Tarrant County Director for Liberty and Justice. We'll continue with him on the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Merry Christmas, fellow Texans. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Thank you very much for hanging out with us today. Before we continue with my guest, Carlos Tercios, I just want to remind you, you've got a very important Christmas gift from Gary Busey.
Hey, it's Gary Busey, and I have got a great Christmas present for you. Listen to this. Honk! Honk! That's what a goose sounds like when they're flying. They let you know they're up there. Honk! Honk! You get a bunch of geese together. Honk, honk, honk. They're honking in the air.
You feel the Christmas spirit? How can you not feel the Christmas spirit after that? Gary Busey is just a gift to us all. He is a Christmas miracle. All right, now with that, we are going to continue with my guest, Carlos Tercios, coming back on for a second segment here. Because while you were breaking down some of the inside info that you had as far as the curriculum at TCU that doesn't jive too well with the, anti-DEI statutes, I saw a couple videos on your X timeline that I feel like should have been in the news but weren't. What was this protest you went to just 2 days ago? The protest against Islamification? Mm. Well, some feels a little off here, Carlos, because generally speaking, I'm against the Islamification of Texas or anywhere in America. I'm against them having their little segregated colonies where they have their own system of governance and whatnot. But we don't protest, we don't march, we don't make signs, and we're going to walk from a mosque to City Hall. That's kind of like a lefty train of thought. I hate to be that reductive, but I don't know. That just gives me a big question mark because we're not the ones who protest. We're not the ones who riot. We're not the ones who do this and make signs and go block roads and stuff. So to see someone actually do it, I feel like I should agree with this guy, but he's not one of us. All right, we're talking with Carlos Tercios. He's with the Tarrant County GOP, also for Liberty and Justice. One more news item that made me think of you this week, Carlos, was Arlington. They just voted to keep their DEI suspension last week, and then this week they're not going to have a city-funded and sponsored Pride Parade. And I thought that was interesting because you were the guy that got to ask the mayor a very important but touchy question back in August. I have the audio.
Mayor Ross, Carlos Tercios with the Dallas Express. You have a moment?
Not for you.
Would you be interested in?
No, I'm not interested. No, thank you. Thank you.
Do you have any comments on?
I don't have any
Israel?
comments, and I'm about to go talk to somebody.
You want to
so why
apologize to
don't
the
you-
family, to Ruben Israel?
No, I don't want to talk to you.
Are you homosexual?
That's it. Are you homosexual? You got to ask this guy because the viral video showed up of him at Decadence Festival. And so no one else made that connection on the TV stations and the other newspapers here. Like, this was the same guy that got in trouble for the Decadence video, and you're sort of the connecting glue in that. Right. Oh, you don't have to convince us. Carlos Tercios, you've done great work, sir. I appreciate your addition to the James Show today. All right, so let's turn our attention to our friend over at the Denton State Living Center. Derek, how's the fundraiser going? We only have 2 days left. Are we doing Neil Sperry proud? Thank you very much, Derek. We'll be right back with the James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. What's up, football fans? James Parker here for the Prize Picks app, and there's some football action tonight. You got the Rams, you got the Seahawks, and they're going to be playing against each other at 7:15. And if you know a little bit about these teams, you might want to come by the Prize Picks app, look at some of these statistics, and then turn your inside knowledge into some real money. I scored my last 2 lineups. I'm going to go for 3 in a row tonight. So here, help me out. What do you think about this one? Matthew Stafford, 232 and a half passing yards, more or less? I'm going to pick more. Then I look at Sam Darnold. He's the quarterback for the Seahawks. 224 and a half passing yards, more or less? I'm going to go less. That's all it takes. And watch the game tonight. I can turn $20 into $60. Now, I tell you what, I'm going to turn $40 into $120. I'll let you know how it works tomorrow. But you just heard me in this little time make a lineup. That's how easy it is to add a little bit of spice to the sports that you're already watching. Take that inside knowledge, turn it into some real money with America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, Prize Picks. Download Prize Picks now. Use promo code WBAP, and you get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Hello, did you hear that? If you download Prize Picks and you're new to the app, use promo code WBAP, and you will get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. You'll thank me later. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Are you ready for today's episode of What the Heck Did Jasmine Crockett Say This Time? And there's going to be like 4 or 5 different cuts here. But
Jasmine Crockett, queen of the liberal tea.
Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Governor Hot Wheels. And he is a hot ass mess, honey.
Queen of the liberal tea.
Today's episode of What Did Jasmine Crockett Say This Time? Strangely enough, brought to you by Hot Wheels. I'm just kidding. That would be funny if they were a sponsor, though. I love those little cars. But Jasmine Crockett, yesterday before Trump's speech, she was asked about his immigration situation with the deportations and whatnot. And she plays the race card, and she plays it pretty hard.
President Trump has made it clear that he only opposes lawful immigration when non-white people immigrate to the United States. His immigration agenda isn't about public safety or economic stability or jobs. It's about racism. It was racist during his first administration. It's racist now. And like his first administration, he's hired a bunch of racists to carry it out.
Here is the diabolical part of that angle that she just took on there. If you pause immigration from a handful of backward third world countries, none of them are going to be white countries because there's no such thing as a white third world country. I am not being racist. I am not being biased. I am not insulting anyone. That is just a statement of fact. This reminds me of, what was it, 10, 15 years ago? I was in talk radio and there was a big headline that came down where like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and crew were bagging on National Geographic for always portraying people of color as, you know, living in grass huts and living like a Stone Age caveman existence and hunting for their food. And, these savages are out there that haven't even developed clothes yet. And the women are running around topless. And they're like, you never see an indigenous white tribe with topless women in the magazine. It's like, yeah, because they don't exist. It's like there's not even... Where's the indigenous white tribe with topless white ladies? That's why National Geographic doesn't put them in their magazine, because they don't exist. You're complaining National Geographic doesn't put in something that doesn't exist. You're complaining, Jasmine Crockett, that there's not any white countries on the third world immigration checklist, because there's not any white third world countries. So, I mean, you just can't win. They just want to see race whenever they see race. They just got to put it in everywhere. And it's not, how is it racist to put just a handful of countries? He's not putting all black countries on the list. He's not putting all Arab countries or brown countries or Southeast Asian countries or what was another one, like North Korea or something. So yeah, there's today's episode of What the Heck Did Jasmine Crockett Say This Time? I'll give you a couple more cuts that they're not going to get me as excited as that one. But I do have some great counter arguments. So your thoughts, 800-288-9227. She could be your next senator from the great state of Texas. Don't laugh. It's closer than you're giving her credit for. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. You're joining us right in the middle of today's installment of What the Heck Did Jasmine Crockett Say This Time? Now, she was coming out swinging yesterday against Trump's immigration policies, saying they were racist. Now, she continued in the same interview here, and she's really hitting the race card hard.
The president is now on record admitting to calling majority black and brown nations, quote, countries. He consistently refers to black and brown people as, quote, low IQ, stupid, or nasty. His agenda is about one thing, giving racial preference to specific people seeking to immigrate to America, which is illegal and unconstitutional.
Yeah, I really hate this because she never explains. When you play the race card, that's an intellectual shortcut. You don't have to explain why his policy is wrong. You just have to declare it racist, and everyone goes, oh, okay, so it's wrong. But what is wrong with pausing immigration from 13 countries that can't run background checks? How does that benefit America? Who is hurt by this? How is that good for the American people or bad for the American people? She doesn't actually address it. She does this ad hominem attack. Well, clearly he's racist. And then all the people who don't want to think very hard go, okay, so I know that is bad and I am against Orange Man. It really is. It doesn't go any deeper than that. And I want to caution so many people on the right about saying that, well, clearly the left is racist because they're so obsessed with race and they're anti-white racist because the preferences always go against people like myself. But I think you're oversimplifying it to your own detriment there, because it's not just about race. It's also about they're anti-man. They're anti-straight white men. They're anti-straight white Christian men. They're anti-straight white Christian men, most specifically from the Western civilization school of thought. You know, the product where the descendants of the Enlightenment thinkers. And it's not because of our race. They don't oppose me because of my race or because of my gender or because of my Christian heritage or because of my political philosophy and the undertones and the foundation that Western civilization is built on. They hate me because people like me are the ones that tyrants fear the most. It's people like us that when the entire world was ruled by kings and queens, we threw off our shackles from not the pitiful neighbor who had managed to occupy us shortly, from the most powerful country on earth at the time. And we didn't set up our own king and queen or dictator. We set up a democracy. We set up a constitutional republic, to be more specific, so I don't get the correctorsons. And then what did we do? And then we turned around and we started flipping over everybody else's table. Because when the rest of the world saw that we could do it here, other Western European, Christian, enlightened-filled, post-Renaissance countries said, well, we can do it too. So England flips over their monarchy. France flips over their monarchy. Eventually, Germany flips theirs over. And, in the 1800s, you saw all of these countries just flip, all the way up to World War I. And then the era of kings and queens was over. We did that. And it's not white men did that, because Eastern European white men didn't do that. The Russians didn't do that. They held on to their serfdom up until the 1900s pretty much. And then they turned themselves over not to freedom and democracy, but to the Soviet Union. So no, this isn't a pro or anti-white guy thing. It's specific to us. The Western civilization ideas that are floating around in our head is what makes us dangerous. Not the color of our skin, not what is, in our undercarriage. Doesn't have to do with our height, our weight, our eye color, any of that. This isn't a physical thing. They fear us because in the books of recent history, the number one scariest thing any tyrant has is Western civilization. All right, with that, let's turn us to something a little more lighthearted. We're raising money for the Denton State Supported Living Center. Derek, sounds like it's been going pretty good. I hope we finish strong for you, bud. Thank you very much, Derek. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Are we about to go to war? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And there's sort of this weird seesaw that keeps happening in American geopolitics. As soon as one war ends, we just jump into the next one. As soon as Afghanistan ended, the Ukraine one started. Now that the Ukraine one is about to wrap up, are we about to jump into Venezuela? Well, my next guest is going to have a little bit more insight than I don't know on it. David Hamilton from the National Security Economic Center at UNT. Welcome back to the James Show. And let's start with the Russia situation, because I keep hearing good news. And now I've been hearing good news for so long, I don't really believe it anymore. Where are we on that one, David? Yeah, and the one headline I saw, and admittedly I didn't click through and read the entirety of the article, is Putin was threatening that I'll just take more stuff if you don't like what I'm offering right now, which I thought was positive because there's something that he's offering right now. All right, we're talking with David Hamilton, National Security Economic Center at UNT. Are we going to go to war with Venezuela? We got a blockade going. That's an active war. Will it escalate? All right, tell me what you got going on these days up at UNT with your new project, David. Yeah, I've come to a couple of your events now. I liked them both. Good stuff. Thank you very much, David Hamilton. To the phones we go. Andrew and Richardson, you're next up on WBAP. Go.
Thanks for taking my call. Hey, I have a prediction of something else that Jasmine Crockett is going to go after that's racial.
Ooh, I like predictions. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this long and hard for a long time, and I think this is going to happen. She's going to go after the crosswalk signals, okay? So all of you people who are as old as I am may remember the time when there was the walk and don't walk signs, right?
Yes.
So now, heaven forbid that anybody should read, so then they changed to the symbols, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only the symbol is racist, right? Because when it turns, it's white. And not only is it white, it's a white man.
Oh, God! Oh, my God. How dare you assume the stick man's gender? You don't know.
Oh, man.
You don't know what that stick guy identifies as.
Yeah, only the white man can cross the street, so it's racist. She's going to go after that. I just know.
Look,
Yeah.
you want to bring up a sensitive subject with me? Do you know? Have you listened to the James Show long enough to know how much I hate bike lanes? Do you understand how far and deep? It's like the Marianas Trench in the Pacific Ocean. That's how deep my hatred is for bike lanes. You understand that?
What is it? Claims?
Bike lanes. Bike lanes.
Bike lanes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Bike.
Oh, bike lanes.
Bicycle lanes. Like when they cordon off part of the street for bicycles. Over here by the Tom Thumb next to our studio at the American Airlines Center, they have a bike lane. And holy mother of God, my worst nightmare has just been put up. They put up a traffic signal for the freaking bikes, Andrew! For the bikes!
Oh, Lord.
I never even see a bike, much less enough bicycles to necessitate a traffic light. This is a total fantasy that these bicycle people are living in, and it is just bizarre. It's like they're just running around without pants on going, why is it cold in here? 800-288-9227. Don't answer that. But if you got any comments, Jasmine, war with Venezuela, but we'll take any of the topics. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. And believe it or not, I had one more Jasmine Crockett clip I wanted to play you before we wrap this up. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, Merry Christmas, fellow Texans, and welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Who am I? I'm your host, James Parker. I know, good to see you. And let me spread the Christmas cheer with that angel of Christmas, Gary Busey. He's got a special gift for you.
Hey, it's Gary Busey, and I have got a great Christmas present for you. Listen to this. Honk! Honk! That's what a goose sounds like when they're flying. They let you know they're up there. Honk! Honk! You get a bunch of geese together. Honk, honk, honk. They're honking in the air.
All right, for now, for something that makes even less sense, we're continuing with today's edition of What the Heck Did Jasmine Crockett Say This Time? She's not a big fan of the deportations. We knew that. And we know sometimes people speak in hyperbole. Trump. But this one, I think you're going to really enjoy. Is this really the most inhumane deportation in American history?
Blaming migrants and deporting migrants and ending TPS won't improve the lives of most Americans. As you can see, we're in the middle of the largest, most inhumane deportation program in American history.
I don't know. Would you say this is more inhumane, where you're picking people up and you're sending them back to their home country? Or, I don't know, maybe the Trail of Tears, where you're taking people from their homeland and sending them to, I mean, as if they hadn't suffered enough, the Democrats sent them to where? Oklahoma. Oh, my God. I was just horror upon horror. Yeah, are like 20-something% of them dying of exposure on the way home, Jasmine Crockett? Because I think the Trail of Tears is astronomically far more inhumane than anything Trump has done. And I'm sure when Barack Obama was deporting over 5 million people, that none of them were separating families, or none of them were pregnant, or none of them were in school, or whatever. Joe in Grapevine, you're on WBAP. Joe in Grapevine, caught you off guard. Nice scrambling, getting it off Bluetooth, and go.
Okay.
Now I just want to spy on him. Let's see how long we can listen until he notices. See if we. Is he at home? Is he at work? What's he doing? Sounds like he's working in the garage. Is that what he's doing? Did you hear like a door open and close, like a cabinet? I know, Joe. It's taking forever. Joe and Greg.
Listen, I hear you, James.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Joe. You're on the air.
Well, listen, I want to first say I was listening last night to the last end of the president's speech. Buddy, I didn't realize you for just maybe a few seconds, but you did us proud. You made us proud, buddy. You did a great job on Joe Pack's show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, they had me filling in during the Joe Pag shift, so we would have some live commentary directly after the president's address. What'd you call in today to talk about?
Well, I'll tell you, James, you were talking about Jackpot Crockett. James, this woman, and it really goes with the Democrat Party, it really goes with the president didn't have enough time, which he didn't take enough time, to bring up what had happened with the Democrat Party, all the fraud, the abuse. How are we expected to believe anything that the Democrat Party has to say, okay? When they, first off, they have no credibility. Look at all the illegality at the top levels. I hear no criticism, not one thing that Jackpot Crockett has even said about that. No, nor either any new ideas about anything, James. And as far as being racist, James, I am Hispanic. I'm from El Paso, Texas. My mother's from Oriente, Mexico, por favor. I mean, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And why do you think there were so many minorities that voted for President Trump? Because we can see through all this fraud, abuse, and this drama queen that they put on. They're not believable. They have, even through the middle of the road voters, I believe it was single digits, was it not, James, in their approval rating?
I don't know what poll you're talking about, so I can't confirm or deny that.
Well, it was talked about. I think I was listening to Kill Me or something this morning early, and they were talking about that, how the Democrats have the lowest approval rating right now. But honestly, James, how can we trust these people? They have no credibility in anything. They do no
Joe,
wrong.
that's what they say about you. They say you're ignoring all the criminality at the top. You just voted for a guy that has 34 felonies and is probably a pedophile and sexual assault and all these other. They have their own little fantasy world that they live in. So when you say I don't understand how they can XYZ, that's not how they see it.
Well, the thing is, we have proof. We've had hearings. We found evidence.
Well,
we
look,
found
Joe, they
firm
say he
facts.
went to a court of law and they swung a gavel with a jury of his peers and he was found guilty of 34 counts. And he's on the Epstein list and he's probably a pedophile and probably, I don't know, pees in the shower, farts in elevators, just every bad thing that they can think to say about him. Someone says it, Jasmine Crockett says it, and easily let people believe it.
Well, when you look at the facts and you start digging in,
They don't see the facts. See, this is exactly why, Joe, this is exactly why he did that address last night. He wasn't announcing we're going to war with Venezuela or we're ending the drug war or anything big like that. He just wanted to break through to all these people that never hear what your worldview is, because that is not their worldview. That is not the same set of facts that they're operating under. And so I think what you brought up is exactly what he was trying to address with that speech last night. Thank you very much, Joe in Grapevine. All right. Hey, Derek, how's it going with the fundraiser here? I know we're just in the last couple of days. I want to hear some good news. Coming up next on the James Show, you'll hear a local congressman, Brandon Gill, roasting someone in Congress. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. So we covered a lot of what Jasmine Crockett said, and most of it just revolved around race. So let's see who she's running against in the primary to be the Democrat in the next Texas Senate race. His name is James Tallarico. And I don't really know much about this guy. I know he's originally from San Antonio, and now he's a state legislator, if I remember correctly. But I don't think you're going to like the little clip that this guy did. It was a video. It's one of those things where they sit at a table in the middle, and then there's 20 people around you. It's a podcast called Surrounded. So he was on that, and he was asked his stance about illegal immigration. And I don't know. Let me know if this rubs you the wrong way.
When I was a teacher on the west side of San Antonio, I taught a lot of students who were undocumented. And I don't want to stereotype, but those students tended to be the most patriotic, the hardest working students that I had in the classroom. They understood something about this country that even I, as a native-born American, often take for granted. They believed that this was a land of opportunity, and they were ready to do whatever it took to make it in this country. And that's what generations of Italian and Irish immigrants did in this country. And I think if we welcome folks who want to contribute, who want to be Americans, it's going to make us stronger and richer because it already has.
Is that racist? I mean, that sounds... He's clearly saying there is this group of people that have endemic traits that render them better than other groups of people, which is the definition of racism. And groups of people based on, innate characteristics, things you can't change. Does that even make sense? The kids that come here illegally are more patriotic than the ones that are born here? I'm sure you can find a lot of people who are born here who hate this country. But for the most part, native-born people, wouldn't they just necessarily be more patriotic than the guy who left his country, than the guy who wasn't born here, than the guy who doesn't have any history here, probably doesn't have family here? When he goes home, are they watching John Wayne movies and listening to country music? Or are they listening to movies in their language and their music? Are they more or less likely to fly the American flag? When we go to the protests where illegals are demanding to not be deported, do you see an overwhelming presence of the American flag, or do you see flags from Mexico and Venezuela and Honduras and Guatemala and countries I don't even recognize? They probably have the flag from the Poncho's table out there before they have an American flag. But why would he say this? James Tallarico, you're white. You understand that? Isn't that crazy how you can just say terrible things about white people on a regular basis, terrible things about native people, and you don't get called out for it? And it's not that, oh, no, I'm so persecuted, I'm the victim here. No, I'm just tired of it because you and I get called racist for everything from not wanting Obamacare to pass to Sydney Sweeney's blue jeans. Yet you have real racism coming out of the mouths of these people, whether it's Jasmine Crockett or the guy she's running against. We get it. You hate white people. We suck. I got it. Native-born white, especially straight white Christian males, we're the worst thing ever. We're Ming the Merciless from Flash Gordon. I got it. Where's all these other people, though, stepping up who like to condemn racism at every turn? We will not stand for it. We're not going to live in this. This is not Mississippi burning in the 1950s. Yeah, we know. Give you another example here. You're just allowed to slag. Pretty much if you match my demographics, you are allowed to be the punchline for everybody's jokes, no matter how mean, how incorrect, how evil it is. And so when you stop down on some of these viral videos and you hear them just talking so bad about white people or Americans or natives or men or conservatives or Trump voters or MAGA people, they're just repeating what they were taught.
Here's what we do. Women, give men nothing. Not an ounce of your attention. He gets nothing. I don't care who he is. Until he pledges allegiance to the matriarchy. He stands with us in public.
Not happening.
That's it.
Yes, see, patriarchy bad. When society is dominated by men, it's terrible. When society is dominated by women, oh no, that level of gender discrimination or oppression or whatever, that's celebrated. It's literally heaven. Yeah, give men nothing till we submit to the matriarchy. You know, we're trying that in some communities and it's not working very well. There's one specific community that's a subgroup within American culture that is over 70% matriarchy. How's that working out for them? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next on The James Show, 2 students in Texas got in a fight at high school. One of them ended up dead. Does that count as murder? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, Merry Christmas from the James Show. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP, and I am your host, James Parker. It just dawned on me, I never played you the awesome audio from Brandon Gill. He is a congressman from the Denton area, and in D.C. there was some hearing, and he was vetting some lady who's just some bureaucrat who makes rules that you and I have to live by. And he was questioning her on her record, and he was doing the fun thing. I love it when people do this, whether they're in Congress or just media people doing an interview, where you set these people up, ask them questions, knowing the answer, and then you spring the truth on them, and it gives them the chance to lie. And then if they do, you can just immediately bust them. And I love that. So this was Brandon Gill, I guess now 2 days ago, talking to some Tyler lady, Miss Tyler.
Miss Tyler, I want to start with you. You've written pretty extensively about what you call white supremacy and Christian nationalism. Is that correct?
Yes, most specifically Christian nationalism.
Got it. Do you believe that white Christians are a problem?
No.
You've written that. I've got an interview here, the transcript from an interview you gave in November of last year with the Interfaith Alliance, where you wrote, quote, or you stated, quote, white Christians have been more a part of the problem than a solution. That was in relation to your views on Christian nationalism.
So first off, there's the first burn, and it's a sick burn. You just set them up. Do you think white Christians are a problem? No. Well, here you are saying it in an interview.
Your views on Christian nationalism. Do you remember that?
Yeah, so I'm including myself, right? I am a white Christian.
Yeah, so if I discriminate against myself, that's not really racist or hateful, is it? No, it still is, lady.
And I'm saying that white Christians,
that's because of views on Christian nationalism. Is that right?
Yeah, so.
Okay. Did you know that 34% of Black Americans support quote unquote Christian nationalism, and that number is 30% for white Americans?
I think that Christian nationalism is an ideology that every racial group, every religious group embraces or rejects to different extents.
Do you think that Black Christians are also a problem?
So I said no. I said when you asked me if white Christians.
I have the transcript here. You stated in this interview that white Christians are a problem. I'm asking you if you have the same view about Black Christians.
So I think white Christians have done more than other groups to perpetuate white Christian nationalism. And I include myself in that category.
Black Christians support Christian nationalism at higher rates than white Christians, per the statistics that I just read.
So Christian nationalism is an ideology that all different groups can reject, and I think that's one social service.
I got it. No. What my understanding is that the categorical condemnation only applies to white Christians and not to Black Christians. That seems to be your testimony.
Oh my God. I don't think she even knew what was going on there. I don't think she understood how silly she sounded. She wouldn't have said that if she did. So real quick, just to go back into the Audiotron 3000, we're going to go to Charlie Kirk, sadly no longer with us, who did the forever greatest explanation on how, yes, America is a Christian nation.
Remember that we were a collection of states and colonies, and you need to read the state constitutions before anything else. 9 out of 13 of the original states required you to be a Bible-believing Christian to serve in government at the time of the founding. You could even in actually, 13 out of 13 required a declaration of faith. 9 out of 13 required you to be a Protestant, except Maryland, which was Catholic, which still required a declaration of faith. In almost every single one of the original state constitutions, Pennsylvania included, they had, I profess Lord and Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior in the original state constitutions. So you remember, we're a collection of states before that. Secondly, 55 out of 56 of the original signers of the Declaration were Bible-believing, church-attending Christians. You asked about common law. So common law is inherited from Blackstone, who was Christian. Common law is an outgrowth of the Scriptures. So let's go to 3 principles of common law: presumption of innocence, due process, and jury of your peers. All 3 are biblical principles. So, and all wrapped into the ultimate biblical principle that you shall not favor justice if you are rich or poor, which is in Leviticus 19, right before the most famous part of Leviticus 19, which is that you should love your neighbor as yourself. But before that is that in the administration of justice, you shall not favor the rich or the poor, which is the idea of blind justice. We get that in the West, which is incorporated also in the New Testament ideal: neither slave nor Greek nor Jew, you're all one in Jesus Christ, which we get the idea of human equality. These are all biblical ideas. They're not Enlightenment ideas. which is they kind of get conflated at the time. But more importantly than that, they say that God was only mentioned 4 times in the Declaration of Independence. Well, that's a big deal, okay? Laws of nature and nature's God. The last paragraph of the Declaration reads as a prayer. It says, we appeal to the supreme judge of the universe. Who's the judge of the universe? Jesus Christ, as it says in Revelation, that Jesus will judge the earth on his throne. So in the Declaration, they were praying to Christ our Lord as a prayer very specifically. Thirdly, as I said on stage yesterday, Deuteronomy was by far the most quoted book, religious or non-religious, in the time of the founding when they were putting together the Constitution, more than John Locke, more than Montesquieu, more than Blackstone. So the book of Deuteronomy, which talked about laws, customs, traditions, it was Moses' farewell address as he's about to say goodbye, say, hey, good luck in Canaan, guys. Here's how you should set up your form of government. But finally, and most importantly, let's look at actually what the founders said. John Adams famously said the Constitution was only written for a moral religious people. It was wholly inadequate for the people of any other. The body politic of America was so Christian and was so Protestant that our form and structure of government was built for the people that believed in Christ our Lord. One of the reasons we're living through a constitutional crisis is that we no longer have a Christian nation, but we have a Christian form of government, and they're incompatible. So you cannot have liberty if you do not have a Christian population.
There you go. There is Charlie Kirk. Very much missed. And on that actually positive note, let's lean over on Derek again and get an update on the Denton State Living Center fundraiser we have going on here. Give me some good news there. Thank you very much, Derek. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And a lot of people are taking time off during the holidays. I'm not really taking a whole lot of time off during the holidays. So if you're going to be around the radio over the next couple of weeks, come listen. It'll be me and you and probably Sean and like 6 other people, maybe one of my 2 parents. That's about it. But we are doing something special for Christmas itself. We are going to be playing Christmas carols, Christmas music from right before when the James Show starts, and then for 30 hours. So there will not be a James Show Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. But I'll be giving you a new show on the 26th, the 22nd, the 23rd. And then I think I'm working every day the week of New Year's. So, you know, not everybody gets to take a whole bunch of time off. I don't really mind not taking time off. I don't have to travel this time like I did for Thanksgiving. And my job's real easy anyway. I talk. It's not like we're laying bricks. I'm not like bent over on a roof in the direct sunlight doing an air gun for shingles. No, it's a pretty easy job. So don't feel sorry for me. Just come join me. If you're one of the suckers that has to work too, then let's be suckers together. All right, I got to tell you, I played this earlier this week, and I got so much feedback. This might be the official James Show Christmas carol, if not for all time, at least for 2025. A band called the Doohickeys did their own little remix on Baby It's Cold Outside. Now, the female part's just about the same. All they had to change was the man's part for 2025.
I really can't stay.
Okay.
I got to go away.
That's fine.
This evening has been so very nice.
Okay, great. Good. I thought it was good too.
My mother will start to worry.
You live with your mom?
My father will be pacing the floor.
Wait, how old are you?
So really I'd better scurry.
The app says you're 29.
Well, maybe just a half a drink more.
No, you need to get out of my house. I'm freaking out.
Might think,
what are they gonna think?
Say what's in this drink.
She made the drink, neighbors. She made the drink.
I wish I knew how.
What? Oh my God.
Break this spell.
Oh my God, I'm going to jail.
I ought to say no.
No, this can't be happening.
At least I'm gonna say that I tried.
You haven't even moved. You're not even trying to leave.
I really can't stay.
I'm calling your ass an
well,
Uber.
Baby, it's cold outside.
Alexi will be here in 2 minutes. Please wait outside.
Yeah, I love that. You know, I don't think I ever noticed this sort of pedophilic angle in that song. What, do you live with your parents? Weird. I know that probably wasn't weird when the song came out in 1949 or whenever they were watching black and white TV. Another great piece of advice for Christmas. Here's an important message for people who are going to be alone.
Hey, if anyone has no family or friends and you're going to be eating Christmas dinner alone, please let me know. I need to borrow your chairs.
You thought he was going to say something nice there, didn't you? You thought he was going to say something meaningful and thoughtful, and then we just pulled the rug out from under you. And finally, this Christmas has been made extra special. We are all going to remember Christmas 2025 because we all got such a special gift from Gary Busey.
Hey, it's Gary Busey, and I have got a great Christmas present for you. Listen to this. Honk! Honk! That's what a goose sounds like when they're flying. They let you know they're up there. Honk! Honk! You get a bunch of geese together. Honk, honk, honk. They're honking in the air.
Yes, the freelance ornithologist Gary Busey bringing you some Christmas magic. It's a Christmas miracle is what it is. It's literally, if that doesn't make your Christmas, then you're just not trying. All right, come back tomorrow. We'll be doing this all over again. In the meantime, if you need some more James Show action, I'm having problems with the podcast. Just go listen to old episodes. There's literally over 1,000 podcast segments up at the James Show. You can't listen to something from like 2 weeks ago. In the meantime, no, I'm honored that people care enough to email and Facebook me. It's not working. What are we doing? It's like, oh, good. This is one of the 12 people that actually listens to the podcast. Thank you very much for your attention. Now stop griping. I'll get it fixed as soon as I can. I'll let you know on the James Show. Mark Levin's next, or at least his show, probably a fill-in. Coming up next on The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.